Welcome to a new edition of our show titled Speak of Africa. We have a great show for you today and we're very happy. In fact, to really show our happiness, we're going to tell you that we're really happy with the news that the African Union has been meeting on the 11th, 10th and 11th of February. So we're really excited about this meeting and we'll have a lot of information to share with you about the assembly. But for this show of today, we want to begin by encouraging you to subscribe to our show. We've noticed that so many people are watching us every day. Unfortunately, when we started looking at statistics from YouTube and social media, we realized that only 8% of our viewers are actually going to our YouTube channel to subscribe to this show. So this needs to change. We want this show to be your show, and we want to be responsive, and we want to be accountable to you. So if you don't subscribe, we don't really know what you're thinking. So we like those who are subscribing. It's very, very easy to subscribe. If you need help subscribing, feel free to call us or send us a text. We have a phone number, 240-350-1131. If you subscribe, you make this show better. And as we've said, this show is your show, and we want to change a whole lot of things. If we want to change Africa, we want to do it one person at a time. You are very important. So we want you to be active on this show. We want this show to reflect what you think, what you want. You've been crying that you want to have a voice. So we want to be your voice. And we don't care what the big guys are thinking. We really want to represent you, the little people in Africa and the diaspora. We want people to know what you're thinking. We're facing some challenges. We've noticed that sometimes when we cover some subjects, YouTube, Facebook, they try to slow down our movement. They don't really want most people to really see the content because we're telling the truth about what is happening in Africa. We have to speak about Africa's problems, Africa's hopes, Africa's aspirations. In fact, today we want to focus on one of the main aspirations of the motherland. For a very long time, even during the colonial days, the main aspiration of the average African was for us to have unity, for Africa to emerge as one people, one destiny. In this regard, Kwame Nkrumah, the former president of Ghana, and Haile Selassie, the former emperor of Ethiopia, decided to create the Organization of African Unity, OAU, in 1963, in May 1963. The goal of this organization was to work to eradicate any vestiges of colonialism in the motherland. And these two leaders had foreseen that without unity, the African people are not going to be able to realize their own destiny. Without unity, the Africans would remain slaves of Europeans and other colonial powers. So they decided to fight so that Africa can be free. All these leaders who led us to independence were freedom fighters. They fought very hard to eradicate slavery, eradicate colonialism, and later on, Kwame Nkrumah even said that neo-colonialism has become the final stage of imperialism. And it's true. Even though Nkrumah wrote most of these books a long time ago, when you go back and look at his books such as Neo-Colonialism, it is very, very topical. It seems as if Nkrumah wrote that book yesterday. What Nkrumah said a long time ago is still happening today. Without the dream of one Africa, Africans cannot realize their potential. Africa is a very big continent geographically. It is bigger than any other continent you can think of. But unfortunately, Africa is being colonized by most of these Western powers. We have the geography, we have the wealth. They are taking whatever we have for nothing, and we are left with nothing. So this is not good. So we need to really focus on the dream of one Africa, because if most of these leaders are left alone, they will just do what is good for them. Okay? They will not do what is good for the people. So sometimes they need checks and balances, which is why democracy works well in the Western world and doesn't work well in Africa. Because in Africa, we tend to have the strongman syndrome. If we have a situation where we have one continent, one people, we don't have all these borders, because these borders are actually artificial. Before the white man came to Africa, Africans were living just like one people. We didn't have borders. We didn't have a place like, okay, wall, this is Nigeria, this is Cameroon, this is Chad. When the colonial masters came, they created artificial borders that were really arbitrary. So you get them mixing people who don't want to live with others together. They bring enemies and put them together to live together, even though they don't like to live together. So it creates a lot of confusion, even to this day. So we were thinking that with the rise of the African Union, there's going to be a lot of improvement in the affairs of Africa. Muammar Gaddafi, may we say peace to this brother, because he did a whole lot to champion the cause of continental African unification. NATO, backed by some of the colonial guys, killed him. We're not saying that Muammar Gaddafi was a perfect guy, but we think he really did a lot to finance the African Union. The other leaders have money, but this money ends up in Swiss bank accounts. None of them is willing to use this money for the freedom of Africa, which is why we really salute Muammar Gaddafi. It's true, the Western world told his people that he was a dictator and they killed him. Look at what has happened after he was killed. Today there's so much chaos in Libya. Libya has become the main transit route for migrants. Most of them are held into slavery. When Gaddafi was there, he respected a lot of Africans. He treated black Africans very well. It's true that people are saying that he was a dictator, but who is not a dictator? Gaddafi became a dictator because the Western world said so. And Africans are always very dumb. They wait for the Western powers to tell them what to think. Think for yourself, which is the goal of this show. Don't wait for the Western powers to tell you that Gaddafi is a dictator. All these leaders are dictators, okay? So rise up. Don't wait for the Western world to tell you Gaddafi is a dictator. Look at what has happened. After Gaddafi was killed, there has been chaos in Libya. Even as we speak to you today, the African Union is struggling to make peace between two warring factions. You have the government that is recognized by the UN, then you have another government that is not recognized, plus a lot of armed gangs who are running around seizing oil fields. When Gaddafi was there, you had peace. But after Gaddafi was killed, there has been terror in this environment. We know each time we talk about terror, most people don't like to hear it. But that's the reality. If Americans want to live in peace, then they have to make sure that there is no terror in Africa. When they make friends with African dictators, they are supporting terrorism, which is what we need for them to understand. And sometimes when we say it, YouTube doesn't want to air our videos because they don't like this information. But we want to tell the truth. We want to tell the truth to our people. Once you know the truth, then you'll be able to do something for yourself.
$250 to $6,000. Quick tax refund advance made easy. It's tax season 2019. The Christmas and New Year holidays are over. Everybody's talking about the PJ Tax Service, the new kid in town on H&R Block's block. Why? Money, money, money. Spread the good news. Quick tax refund advance is here. It's big, bigger than ever. Put big money in your pocket fast. PJ Tax Service. Nobody gets your tax money back faster, instantly, quickly, and immediately. 3 tax refund disbursement choices for you in less than 24 hours. Visa e-card, paper check, and direct deposit. Get your money back without delays. PJ Tax Service has your back. It is your money, so get it now. PJ Tax Service. You like the way we do your taxes. PJ Tax Service. You feel like a lottery or a sweepstake winner. Act now. Call 301-593-4879 or 301-593-4897. Or come to our office, 11207A, Lockwood Drive, Silver Spring, Maryland, 20901. Or you can visit us online, www.pjtaxservice.com.
Look at what is happening in Libya. The African Union cannot even do much. They met on the 10th and 11th of February. They decided on 8 priorities. You're going to realize that they are not going to be able to do much because this is really a dictator's club. This is not really a good organization. So the United Nations needs to look at this system and encourage Africans to try to do things for themselves. Self-reliance is what we're really driving at. Because when we look at the African Union, it is just like a remodeling of the Organization of African Unity. Every year, you have leaders who meet. They are not really doing anything substantive. Most of these people are too old. They cannot really contribute much to their countries. They don't even think. They go there and fall asleep. So are these the type of people who want to be running the affairs of Africa? No. So but the problem is, these are all colonial tools. You look at the African Union. Since the death of Gaddafi, who is financing them? The European Union and some of these colonial powers, China, they are the ones financing the African Union. Why can Africans not rise up to finance their own institutions? Because when you finance your own institutions, then you'll be able to have a say in the way things are going to work. So, which is why whenever there's a crisis, the AU cannot really do much. With the rise of Paul Kagame of Rwanda, we've been very, very happy with what is happening in the African Union. But he too is limited because of those colonial structures that are still in place. The African leaders cannot make a decision. Take, for example, the recent events in Congo DRC. The African Union knew very well that Joseph Kabila has stolen the victory of the people and given to Felix Tshisekedi. But what could he do? He tried. Suddenly, they started bickering and they decided that, okay, no, we have to leave this stolen victory alone and let's just move. So this was a very big disappointment for the African Union. It shows us that the African Union is not really working well. It's not working well because they cannot really make a decision and stick to that decision. If we have an organization like the AU, it needs to really function well. You look at even the parliament. The AU parliament is just a joke. It doesn't reflect the wishes of the African people who come from the member countries. When I look at it, I don't even call it the African Union. I call it the African Assemblage because it's just the assembling of African leaders. Most of them are not even democratically elected. Look at Al-Sisi of Egypt. He has become the new leader of the African Union. But how did he get into power? He got into power by deposing a democratically elected government of the people, for the people, by the people. And since then, he has removed his uniform. Now he prefers the ordinary dress of a civilian, but he still rules the country like a dictator. You look at the way things are going on in that country, he makes decisions without consulting any civilian organization. But now, he is the leader of the African Union. So when you have this type of dictators running the affairs of Africa, it's a shame. It's a bad sign. Al-Sisi should not really be the president of the African Union. It's a shame because we think it's not fit. He doesn't have the credentials of democracy. We can make him build a new Africa. In order to build a new Africa, we need to really have new systems. The AU needs to be radically and totally remade into a new organization. Right now, what we have is the old structure of the Organization of African Unity, which people like Kwame Nkrumah put together. But this needs to change because right now, all these countries are just dictators who don't want to criticize each other. Look at what is happening in Cameroon. There has been civil strife, which has now morphed into a full-scale civil war. But even the AU itself is saying they are really disappointed that the leaders are silent. Why should African leaders be silent when they are seeing genocide going on in another African country? It's because they belong to the same club of dictators. That's why. Why they are not talking. In normal circumstances, if we had a good parliament, a good African parliament, and a good security council, whatever is happening now in Cameroon should have really been handled by these people. But it is not happening because the people are afraid these dictators may criticize what is happening in their own countries. So we think that this is not a good sign because it doesn't bode well for democracy in a continent. It doesn't bode well for unity because we don't really see any unity in Africa. And we really feel bad when we see what is happening in the motherland. Parading in suits every year does not really make for unity. Okay? These people meet in Addis Ababa, but they need to be self-reliant. They need to be self-reliant in order to be able to bring change to their people. Look at Cameroon. Already, they had the Youth Day. The president of that country, Mr. Paul Biya, came again and made another beautiful speech that has been recycled for more than 36 years. What is he offering the youth? Nothing. The youth are lamenting. They are dying. Today, he's instead killing them. In fact, one of his ministers, Jean Didier Momon, came out and made some silly comments about Jews. And he saw what happens when you touch Jewish people. They are not like Africans who are stupid. When you touch a Jewish person, the people rise. They have gone through the Holocaust. So they don't want anybody to joke with them about the Holocaust. When this minister of Paul Biya went on national television and started criticizing Jews, the Jewish ambassador in Cameroon took him to task because they will not tolerate it. You have somebody who is killing his own people the way Hitler was killing them, and you want people to praise him. No. Then he used a metaphor that was really wrong. He was insulting Jewish people as if they caused the Holocaust. That was wrong. So when they start making these mistakes, eventually the world will come to see who Mr. Paul Biya is. He is the new Adolf Hitler. He's killing people every day, and nobody's saying anything about it because the African Union is weak. So the African Union has set up these 8 priorities that they're going to try to deal with them. Peace in Cameroon. They're going to try to engage the Biya regime. But I don't think they will do much because they are really tied. Their hands are tied by the colonial powers. France will not let them intervene. So long as France doesn't want the African Union to intervene in Cameroon, it's not going to happen. So that's exactly what is happening. But if the African Union were a free organization that is financed by Africans, then they will be responsible to Africans. Today, they are not responsible to Africans because they are responsible to European powers who build their new structure, China. But why did they kill Gaddafi? They killed Gaddafi because he was bold enough to be an African who decided to be different from the other dictators. He decided to use the wealth of his country for the benefit of his people. It is true, he made some mistakes, but Gaddafi had a lot of brilliant ideas for Africa. When you even look at his third universal theory, it was a brilliant move. He feels that, well, democracy and capitalism as it works in the West may not really work in Africa. So we need to adapt it to our own culture. In fact, Gaddafi is not the only one who has this idea. Even Professor George B.N. Ayite, in his book, Traditional African Institutions, he advocates the idea of rebuilding Africa based on our traditional institutions. We've always said on this show that Africa is a legacy of Christianity, Islam, and indigenous belief systems. So we want to start building the new Africa on a framework that takes into account the legacy of Christianity, Islam, and indigenous institutions. That's the only way we can really build a new Africa.
Life insurance money secrets of millionaires and billionaires exposed. Discover how America's rich and famous exploit these arcane tools to build fabulous wealth. Why should these big white guys have all the fun? Let Prince Ojong, the celebrity author of The Miraculous Millionaire, show you the little understood life insurance way to riches. Are you still doubting the good things that life insurance can do for you? Trust strategies, estate planning, 401k rollover, annuity contract, cash value, education funding, executive benefits, income protection, life protection, living benefits, mortgage protection, tax-free retirement? Think and grow rich with life insurance. Your amazing journey to wealth begins by calling Prince Ojong at 240-350-1131.
So starting out from the AU, we think we need a radical and total makeover of the African Union organization. The way it is configured today is a failure. It will never work because the members are all dictators and they are fighting for their own selfish interests instead of the interests of the people. So what do we need before we can have a new organization? It doesn't make sense to form a new organization right away. Well, what we really need now is to design a new blueprint for Africa, an Africa without borders. We need an Africa that is just one country, one nation. Then you have a real parliament. This whole notion of sovereignty is an alibi the people use to suppress their own people. When we have an African parliament, an African parliament needs to really engage the dictators and hold them in check so that they cannot just kill their people free without any accountability. But what is happening today? Look at Mr. Paul Biya. He's killing his people every day in the Anglophone regions. Nobody's saying anything. Of course, the United States just decided to reduce the military aid package it gives to Cameroon. That's a move in the right direction. But what we Africans need to understand is, it is not the US business to depose our dictators. It is our business to depose those dictators. We need to use the resources that we have to depose them. It's true, they have a lot of military might, but now the people are beginning to protest and rise against these dictators. You're going to realize that these dictators are powerful because we have accepted their authority. If we reject their authority, that's going to be the beginning of the end of their dictatorship. You take an example like Mr. Paul Biya. Already in the English regions, the people now have challenged his leadership. He's killing them every day. But why is the African Union not telling this individual to stop killing people? Why is the African Union waiting for foreign powers to intervene? It's because the African Union is a toothless bulldog. It's a paper tiger. It cannot bite. So forming such organizations is a waste of the resources of Africans. We need to radically and totally change the AU. Instead of giving chairmanship to people like Al-Sisi of Egypt, we need to really make sure that this organization is accountable to the African people. So we have like 3 points. In order to make for peace in Africa, we need an organization that looks at the original goals of creating the Organization of African Unity and the African Union. So far, we've not seen any unity. So far, we've not seen any union. It is true, a few months ago, Paul Kagame, the president of Rwanda, tried to host a meeting to try to create Africa as one trade bloc. That's positive. But already it took a while for the countries even to come to the table to sign those agreements. Why? Because they're looking at their selfish interests. So if we want to really create a new and radically different African Union organization, we have to begin on the political sphere. On the political sphere, we need to make sure that we are a free people. Because if we are beggars, if we are slaves, we cannot make decisions. Slaves do not make decisions. Their masters make decisions for them. So long as we remain the slaves of the French, we're not going to be able to have any freedom in Africa. The French will always dominate and tell us what to do, which is why it's even difficult to have free and fair elections in Africa. Look at Nigeria. On the 16th, Nigerians will go into the polls. But is this election free and fair? We don't think so. It's not free and fair because there's a whole lot of foreign intervention. Foreign calculus enters into the mix. Nigerians alone cannot decide who should be their leader. Foreign money comes in and corrupts the politician so that they vote but a candidate who would do the bidding of the Western powers. Once this continues, Africa will remain a slave and Africa will remain behind. So sometimes I really smile when people ask me, why is it Africa is behind? Africa is behind because you should know there's so much intervention. The foreign powers keep intervening in Africa. They don't let Africans to do their own thing. So it is time now for the young Africans. I call you the strong breed. I want you to start rising against most of these people, which is why so far we've given a lot of support to Omoyele Sowore because he's a young person and he's doing his thing. So we'd like to see young people rising and doing their thing. And for the election of Nigeria on the 16th of this month, we are urging most of the young people to vote for Sowore, okay? He's a young person like you guys, so he can present a brighter future for you. All these old people are just dead wood. They cannot bring anything new to Nigeria. So we're encouraging you to vote a candidate of change. Okay? So the African Union needs to work to provide an environment where there are free and fair elections. The African Union needs to supervise elections in most countries. Otherwise, they are just wasting their time. Then they don't really have a raison d'etre. They don't have a reason for being. Because when they cannot really help to supervise elections, they allow the president of a country to supervise elections where they themselves are a candidate, then who do you think is going to win? If I'm the judge and I'm also a plaintiff or a defendant, who do you think is going to win the case? If I'm the judge, I'm going to make sure that I win the case. And that's what has been happening in most African countries. You cannot have free and fair elections because the president always makes sure that he controls the machinery of voting. Okay? All elections are a charade. Look at what has just happened in Congo DRC. What did the African Union do? They were just embarrassed because they did not really do anything meaningful. So let this not repeat itself because it makes Africans look bad. It makes us look like fools. Mr. Joseph Kabila has just been playing games with the international community and the African Union. First, they were supposed to go into Congo DRC to make sure that the elections are redone. Then overnight, they decided to change their mind because of backroom deals that were worked out. So that's really why Africa has problems, because of backroom deals. Then, on the economic sphere, we need to really give opportunity to our young people. Because our young people are traveling to Europe because there's no hope. So when we have a youth day, instead of recycling old speeches, we need to sit back and look for ways to really empower our young people. The old people need to take a back seat. The old people don't have the energy to do anything but wrong things. So they don't have much to contribute to society. So let us learn from the Western world. Allow the young people to change the fate of Africa. Because that's really what is necessary at this juncture. The young people need to do what it takes. Old people who are 70, 80 years old cannot change a country. If not, what have they been waiting for? By the time you are 90, you've not changed a country, then what have you been waiting for? You've been sleeping. So while you are asleep, let the young people take the mantle and run the country the way it should be. Because already, the biggest problem with the young people is that the old people don't let them gain power. And the old people are very, very corrupt. And corruption makes it difficult for most African countries to take off. When you look at Nigeria as an example, there's just too much corruption. Okay? Leave room now for the young people to take over and make a change. Socially, you also have a lot of poverty around. Okay? When there's poverty, the people cannot really think straight. A hungry stomach would always want to think of doing something terrible. If our young people are well fed, there will be no brain drain. But how can you develop a country socially when the brains of the young people are not there? The young people are running to foreign countries to look for a better life. So those are the type of things that we think the African Union needs to start looking. I've looked at their 8 priorities. They are good priorities. It's just like a doctor saying, I know what the patient is sick of. But why not come up with a procedure that can cure the patient? You keep diagnosing the patient, you come up with solutions, but you don't apply them. Now is the time to start implementing solutions that can take Africa forward. And the AU needs to really focus on this. As an organization, I don't really see what its usefulness is because they are not really doing anything to prevent crisis. Now they are talking about working for peace in Libya. Where were they when the colonial masters were killing Gaddafi? They stood on the sideline and watched like spectators of a soccer match. So instead of watching from the sidelines, they need to be active. We need to have our borders. We need to tear these borders down so that Africa can just be one nation. This whole notion of sovereignty has to stop so that we can really have people traveling from one part of the continent to another. When that happens, you see that we will start thinking as one people. So just meeting in Ethiopia and celebrate. Of course, I like the idea that they've erected a new statue for Emperor Haile Selassie. But of course, you know that even though we respect him as one of the founders of the Organization of African Unity, his record is mixed. On the one hand, you have people who like what he stood for, especially the way he challenged the Italians, Mussolini. Ethiopia, for your information, is one of the countries in Africa that was never colonized. Mussolini occupied Ethiopia for a few years, but he had to leave. They did not go through colonization like the other African countries, thanks to the strength of the Ethiopians. So that's good. But what about the other side? The other side of the emperor's record is really terrible. People were dying of famine, and the emperor did not want to deal with this crisis. Instead, he was taking food and feeding his lions. So that created so much backlash internationally. Eventually, he was overthrown by a Marxist government under Mengistu Haile Mariam. Okay? But for founding the OAU, we think this is a salutary move. We have to give him credit. Okay? We don't consider him a god, Rastafari. Okay? Like the Jamaicans. But we think we have to appreciate what he did for Africa. We have to appreciate what Nkrumah did for Ghana and Africa. So Nkrumah really is a philosopher of African unity, because he came up with this idea when most Africans were not even thinking about it. And what he said is so topical today. You realize that so long as Africans are not united as one nation, they will always have problems. The foreign powers will always play games and seize their resources. But if the foreign powers have to go through 55 member countries to ratify a move, it will be impossible for them to steal Africa's resources. So now is the time for Africans to start thinking that they need to radically and totally change the African Union, because it will make it difficult for most of these dictators to make decisions without consulting a parliament. Okay? But most of them make decisions when they receive calls from colonial capitals like Paris, London, Washington, D.C. But they need to start receiving those calls from Addis Ababa, which is the seat of the African Union. And so they can do this if Africans start spending the money to build their own institutions. Okay? With this, we leave you and said, thanks. We have a lot of information on what has happened at the last AU meeting. So we want you to go to our channel and watch this show. But we're telling you to subscribe to this show. Once again, we're reminding you that only 8% of you who are watching our show are subscribing. You watch, we talk to you, you tell us you're watching it, but your numbers are not being registered. So you want to be counted. We want your voice to be heard. Okay? So only 8% of you are subscribed to the channel. We want you to subscribe right now. If you can subscribe right now, it's very, very easy to subscribe. You just go, as you're watching the video, you see the little button, notification, you click subscribe. Then you subscribe. After you subscribe, you want to share the video with a lot of your friends. Call them. Tell them about this show. And tell them that we are looking for Africans who want to join us in a new movement to bring freedom to the motherland. We want the dream of African unity to be realized. We want Africa to be without borders. We want Africa to be one nation. One nation, one people, one destiny. And as I told you last time, we're also busy with the tax season. I'm busy preparing taxes for clients. I would love to become your tax preparer. You can call my office. My number is 240-350-1131. We do taxes. We form non-profit organizations. Anything in finance, I can help you do, because I have the network of people who work with me to realize these objectives. We can help you do your taxes. We can help you start a business. And if you need to start a business, we can even write a business plan for you. I've never written a business plan that did not really win an award. Every time I write a business plan, most institutions love it. And they love the originality of my business plan, because I don't just take a template and build a plan. No. I look at the market as it exists right now, then help you to design a winning business plan. A business plan that will help you beat your competition. Because one of the key goals of my business plan is to look at what the competition is doing in the business arena. Then I look for a smarter way for you to get into the market and beat the competition. So if you want to start a business plan, whether it's in healthcare, in affinity marketing, I'll be the right person to help you to start this business. And so one of my goals is to start helping Africans to build businesses. In fact, that's my goal for 2019. The more Africans own their own businesses, the better they will be. Don't just envy other people. If you look in America today, a lot of businesses are owned by Jewish people. Why? Because they came here with a goal. They were not rich when most of them came to America, but they decided to save and invest their resources. Today, they are reaping the benefits. So instead of envying them, we want to emulate them. We want to be like them. Okay? We want to model their excellence. So today, I'm urging you to call me so that I can help you start a new business. Or if you just want to do taxes, I will help you prepare your taxes. Thank you very much, and share this show with your friend. Share, 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 share. God bless you.
Selling a service or a product? Need buyers? Use the African Nation TV as a channel to reach many viewers. Act now and call Prince Ojong at 240-350-1131. That's 240-350-1131. Act today.